guys, Dalek44 here. I need no introduction, but I got one anyway. Now you may remember near the end of last year I talked about Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
Yep, that popular American entertainment and merchandising franchise built around a live-action superhero television series that ran on for 25 years, with 25 seasons and 3 full-length feature films. This show is a huge hit around the world.
And tonight we're going to be looking at the Power Rangers movie. No, not that one. I'm talking about this classic from 2017.
Power Rangers, also known as Saban's Power Rangers, is a 2017 American superhero film based on the franchise Power Rangers. It is the third Power Rangers film and is a reboot of the series.
So how is the 2017 reboot of Power Rangers compared to the original TV series from the 90s? Well, let's take a look.
Centuries ago, 6 warriors known as the Power Rangers are tasked with protecting life on Earth and the Zeo Crystal. The Green Ranger, Rita Repulsa, betrays them and plans to dominate the universe. The Red Ranger, Zordon, survives Rita's attack and hides the 5 power coins. He orders Alpha 5, his robotic assistant, to perform a meteor strike that kills him, the dinosaurs, and sends Rita to the bottom of the sea, foiling her scheme. In 21st Century Angel Grove, high school football star Jason Scott is dismissed from the team and placed under house arrest after a failed prank. In detention, he encounters Billy Cranston and Kimberly Hart. Billy deactivates Jason's ankle monitor after helping him with a bully. That evening at an old gold mine, the 3 teenagers as well as 2 others, Trini and Zack, discover the 5 power coins and take one each. While escaping mine security, the car is hit by a train. The 5 find themselves home the next morning to discover the coins have granted them superhuman abilities. Elsewhere, Rita's body is found. Wakened, she goes on a rampage, hunting pieces of gold to raise her minion Goldar to find the Zeo Crystal. The 5 teenagers return to the mine and discover an ancient spaceship where they meet Alpha 5 and Zordon's consciousness. They inform the teenagers about the Rangers' history and Rita, warning that they have 11 days until Rita has her full power, finds the Zeo Crystal and uses it to destroy life on Earth. The 5 leave the ship with no intention of returning until Zordon pleads with Jason to convince the team. The 5 return to train the next day, but cannot morph. They spend the next week training against simulation putties and trying unsuccessfully to morph. And the whole film is basically the Rangers training to become Power Rangers and to stop Rita from taking over the world by finding the Zeo Crystal and destroying life on Earth.
So being a Power Rangers fan myself, what are my thoughts of the new 2017 movie? It's better than I thought it was going to be back when it was first announced.
When I first heard about the movie, I honestly didn't know what to expect from it. Was it going to be as corny and cheesy as the TV series is, or was it going to be taken seriously like most movies today? And I found to my surprise that it took it very seriously. It made it quite a dark and edgy movie. And that's quite a departure from the previous Power Rangers projects we've had over the years. Of course, being a reboot, they had to change certain things from the franchise, including backstories, teenagers' personalities, and all that other stuff.
But you can't have a good Power Rangers story without good Power Rangers and other characters. So let's dive in and have a look at what the characters are like in this reboot.
Jason Scott, played by Dark-Ray Montgomery, was a former star quarterback of Angel Grove High School's football team before a failed prank led a run-in with the law. You could say here that Jason is the kind of teenager who would fight the law, compared to the TV series where he was the tough guy of the group. Yeah, there weren't really much to work with in the TV series, but here they expanded on it, giving him a backstory. There's Kimberly Hart, played by Naomi Scott, a former cheerleader who took part in the cyberbullying incident by spreading a private image of her friend around school. When I heard that this young woman was going to be cast as Kimberly, I honestly couldn't see anybody besides Amy Jo Johnson in the part. Of course, they had to choose a younger woman for this movie since Amy is not in her teen years anymore. But Miss Scott honestly played the part really well. And like I said with Jason, she didn't have much to go with in the TV series. She was just the gymnast girl of the group. But it's quite an interesting backstory to hear that she used to be a cyberbully. It just adds a bit more fins to her in the film. There's the Blue Ranger, Billy Cranston, played by R.J. Seiler. Did I say that correctly? Anyway, Billy is an autistic and intelligent loner. He is the classic nerd who has become a bully magnet. Now I find this quite interesting that they made Billy autistic, since I have autism myself. Now this doesn't really offend me in any way, because the actor really does play the part of an autistic guy really well. And there are some autistic people I know who are kind of like Billy. And some would argue that he's not supposed to be a black guy since he wasn't a black guy in the TV series, but let's be honest here. If Zack was the black guy in the movie, then it wouldn't exactly be politically correct putting him in the black suit like they did in the TV series. So, Billy being a black kid honestly never bothered me in this movie. There's Trini, played by Becky G, a new girl in town who is struggling to make friends and having difficulty relating to her family. She is also questioning her sexual orientation. In the TV series, Trini was the Asian girl with the lovely attitude who you'd really want to be around, and the wisest person in the show. But here she's an outlaw as well, kinda like Jason. Never giving a shit about nothing or nobody until she learns the meaning of friendship when she hangs around her new friends. And I think it's a relief that the kid they chose is a naturally American, since it wouldn't have been politically correct if they put an Asian kid in a yellow suit like they did in the TV series. There's Zack Taylor, played by Ludi Lin, a teenager who lives with his sick mother and fears that he will return one day to find her dead. Of course, in the TV series, Zack was the black kid of the group. But again, it wouldn't have been PC putting a black kid in a black suit like they did in the TV series. And I kind of see making Zack the Asian kid of the group sort of like when they introduced Adam in Season 2 of Power Rangers, since he was an Asian kid instead of a black kid in the black suit. This is sort of like a reference to the TV series when the second Black Ranger was an Asian kid.
The personalities of the teenagers in this movie is very, very different from how they were in the TV series. But let's be honest, the characters in the TV series didn't really have that much personalities besides their personal interests and traits.
There's Alpha 5, voiced by Bill Hader, the robot assistant of Zordon. In this movie, he's not exactly comical like he was in the TV series. He's more of a grounded robot who still says "ay ay ay" a couple of times. But rather than just running around looking silly, he actually is quite a serious character in this movie.
They're teenagers, somewhere between infancy and full maturity. It's hard to explain, really.
And at first I wasn't too big on his design compared to the TV series design, but these days I don't mind the design. It just looks kind of awesome to me. There's Zordon, played by Bryan Cranston, the original Red Ranger and the Power Rangers' mentor. Zordon lived millions of years ago before his consciousness became part of the morphing grid at the time of his death. And for those of you who may not know, Bryan has been part of Power Rangers since the starter days, mainly as a voice for some of the monsters the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers had to face, such as Snizzard and Twin Man.
Now you can take my firepower. Mirrors all around. Smash the Rangers to the ground. Probably worth the Google.
And most of you may remember him for his role as the dad in Malcolm in the Middle. But I really find it interesting to know that he was a part of Power Rangers even before this movie came out. That's just a really awesome bit of trivia.
But the Power Rangers can only be as good as their main villain, Rita Repulsa.
Millions of years old, she is the former Green Ranger who went rogue and killed her old team before being temporarily subdued by Zordon. She works to form the monster Goldar while attempting to steal the Zeo Crystal, an artifact that channels the Morphic Grid, a dimension that gives the Power Rangers their powers. A lot of people may miss that shouty voice that Brenda Goodman gave Rita in the TV series, but I really do enjoy Elizabeth Banks' performance in this movie, since it was the first time I'd seen her as a villain. And she just plays the part really well. Of course, she doesn't say "I got a headache" as much as she did in the TV series. In fact, I don't remember a scene where she actually did say she had a headache. But they did let her say "make my monster grow" when Goldar was being created. That's something, right?
And this movie was the first time I'd seen Elizabeth Banks play a villain, since the first time I saw her was in the Lego movie as Wildstar. And I think she does a pretty damn good job playing this character.
And I have to admit, when I first saw the design of the new Rita for this movie, I honestly just thought to myself, Poison Ivy, since her appearance looked very similar to Poison Ivy from the Batman franchise. But then when I watched the movie, I was amazed and surprised that she was the original Green Ranger before the New Rangers came up. And that just adds a new story to her, making her have a relationship with Zordon that was never explained in the TV series, or possibly never happened in the TV series. And there's a strong possibility that if Lord Zed exists in this movie franchise, that he seduced her to the dark side. And that would be a very interesting story to see in a sequel. And there are many other characters in this movie, such as the teenagers' parents, their siblings, and a school bully who is basically the replacement for Bulk and Skull. And I can't really say much about this bully because I just don't find him that interesting. He's not comical like Bulk and Skull, he's not really much interesting, he's just a bully just because. And for Rita's minions we got the putties, who are depicted as stone golems that can be made from any earth element. Now this is a great departure from the TV series, since the putties were just people made out of clay. But in this one, they're actually made out of rock. You can see every bit of rock that these guys were made from. And then we have Goldar, a gigantic winged monster made out of gold. This was quite a departure from the TV series when you know the original Goldar. He was a fierce fighter who was the only competent person on the team. But here he's a silent but deadly monster that's gigantic even when he's first created. I wonder what the original Goldar's reaction would be like if he saw that. Dude, that's a lot of gold. And it's also worth pointing out that Jason David Frank and Amy Jo Johnson, the original Green and Pink Power Rangers, made a cameo in this movie as Angel Grove citizens.
When I saw the original Green and Pink Rangers from the Mighty Morphin series near the end of the movie, I was absolutely gobsmacked. I had no idea they were going to appear in this movie.
Of course it was only a small cameo, but they were still there nonetheless, and it was really awesome to see them in this live action movie. Another thing they updated in this movie was the Power Rangers suits. Now in the TV series it was obvious that they weren't exactly power suits, and for the original movie from the 90s they did update them by making them look more like armour, and here they look kinda like Iron Man suits, though these aren't the first things to be made fun of for looking similar to Iron Man. But honestly, I like these designs for the power suits. It looks more like a robotic armour, and it just looks more powerful when compared to the TV series. Now don't get me wrong, I still love the TV series power suits, but these are just appropriate for the modern day big screen movie.
Now some people may complain that the Rangers don't appear in the Ranger suits as much as they did in the TV series, but I honestly don't mind that.
Yeah, I honestly don't mind that the Rangers aren't in their power suits until the third act, because it really does show the Power Rangers getting to train to get their powers rather than just getting them instantly. Because in the TV series, the Rangers just get their powers just like that. But in this movie they take the time to develop the characters and show them in their training before they actually receive the ability to get their power suits. And that was something that the TV series hadn't done in the past. We also have the updated swords that look like the dinosaurs and dino animals they represent, but I gotta be honest, they don't look as spectacular as the TV series ones do. Even the Megazord doesn't look as kick-ass as it did in the TV series. We don't even get to see the swords actually form to make a Megazord. They just go down into the earth and fall into some lava, and then like that they're combined into the Megazord. Showing how these things actually become the Megazord would be a must-do for the sequel if it ever comes out. But to their credit, they do have the great CG technology to pull off these things.
The visual effects in this movie are pretty damn good compared to how they would have been in the 1905 movie, with better CG technology and better effects and so on and so forth.
Even though most of the fans enjoyed this movie, it was met with mixed reviews upon its release, with criticism primarily focusing on its uneven tone, product placement, and changes from its source material. The movie was labelled a box office disappointment.
Now to this day it still bothers me why critics claim this a box office bomb, since it made more than enough of its budget in the box office. Okay, it's not like a huge amount of money they made in the box office, but it's still more than what they spent on making this movie.
And I suppose it's pointless to talk about this movie without pointing out its product placement, Krispy Kreme. During the movie, we discover that the Zeo Crystal is buried underneath a Krispy Kreme donut shop in Angel Grove. And as soon as that's discovered, the characters just say Krispy Kreme loads of times in this movie.
With the amount of times they say Krispy Kreme during the climax of the movie, you could pretty much nickname it Krispy Kreme Presents Power Rangers.
It's a Krispy Kreme. Krispy Kreme. We gotta go to Krispy Kreme. Krispy Kreme! Billy, you circle the Krispy Kreme and make sure it's safe.
There's even a scene where Rita goes into the donut shop before it gets destroyed and then eats one of the donuts. That just had a lot of people laughing when I went to see it in the cinema. So while this product placement is incredibly ridiculous, it doesn't really drive away from the story of this movie, in my opinion. This movie was so popular that Lionsgate and Saban, in collaboration with Enway Games, released a mobile phone video game called Power Rangers Legacy Wars, which featured Power Rangers from the movies and the TV series, so you get to fight as Power Rangers from the movies, the TV series, as well as villains from the movie and TV series. The second I downloaded that game, I just got Lord Zed as a playable character. I didn't care how much stuff it would cost me, I just had to be Lord Zed in the game. And for those of you who may not have seen the movie yet, it ends with a little cliffhanger showing that Tommy Oliver could make an appearance in the possible sequel. And if they do make a sequel for this movie in the future, I'm honestly banking on Lord Zed being in it. And if they can't get Robert Axelrod to do a voice cameo as Lord Zed, I hope they do at least find someone who can do a pretty good job of being Lord Zed. And I'd love to see how badass Lord Zed would look in this movie compared to the TV series.
And this movie was so good that I'm honestly hoping that they do a sequel to this movie.
So even though this movie is considered a box office disappointment, Saban's Power Rangers is one of the best movies I've seen in 2017 in my opinion. To me it stays true to the TV series, but adds a new adulty edge to it for those who grew up with the show in the past. It's got great effects, great casting, great directing, and it's just a great film in my opinion.
So if you're a Power Rangers fan or just getting into Power Rangers, then this movie is definitely worth your time and money.
And if you haven't seen this movie yet, I highly recommend it for any Power Rangers fan or any fan who wants to get into Power Rangers. You'll have a mighty morphin' time of it.
Are there any other things you'd like to see in a potential Power Rangers sequel? Well, leave them in the comments section below or post a video saying your opinions. I'm Dalek44, and I'll see you next time, folks.